Continuing with the tour, Hilchos HaMoed, Siman Tav Kuf Mem Vav 546, deals with simchas, getting married on Yom Tov and associated Yom Tov HaMoed and associated issues. The Torah says, "Ein nosim nashim במועד lo besulos v'lo almanos." One may not get married on Yom Tov neither to a virgin bride or a widowed bride. V'lo miyabmin, and we don't do yibum either. Mutar laarse. However, when it is mutar to do irusin, we're talking about the first half of the wedding ceremony that's done at the chuppah before kriyas ksuva. It is an engagement that is more than what we call an engagement. A couple that has had irusin needs a get in order to dissolve this arrangement. You can do this engagement. ובלבד שלא יעשה סעודת אירוסין, as long as you don't make a meal for the אירוסין. Now, one has to recall that until the Crusades, Irusin and Neshooin for a virgin bride were separated by a year. The Irusin was a year before the Neshooin, and for a widowed or orphan or divorced bride, it was separated by 30 days. So that this is so that she can prepare her trousseau and so on. So they were done separately, and the part that's Irusin is the issue: can it be done on HaMoed? And it can be done if there's no seudah associated with it. ומותר להחזיר גרושתו מן הנשואין ולא מן מהאירוסין. One can remarry one's wife who one was married to, but not if you were only engaged to her. ובערב ומועד הכל מותר, and erev yantif everything is mutar. Cosay isha tכשיטיה b'chol hamoued. A woman is allowed to wear her jewelry and do her makeup on Chol hamoued. Kegon kוחלת ופוקסת, like eyeshadow and base and things like this. ומעברת serek al pnיה. She's allowed to put things on her face, packs on her face, and so on. ומעברת סכין על פתחתה ועל פניה שלמטה. She is allowed to shave her forehead, if there are hairs that go below her hair covering apparently, or her pubic hairs. In the times of the Mishnah and the Gemara, women would always shave their pubic hairs before going to the mikvah. This is the end of the Torah. However, there is a lot of commentary on this, and the Siman becomes much, much longer in the Shulchan Aruch. The first thing that we have to take note of is that there are a series of reasons given in the Gemara as to why one may not get married on Chol hamoued. Two of them are brought by the poskim, one by the Rambam, one by many other poskim. The one brought by the Rambam is that the simcha of Chol hamoued is such that it should not be interfered. Ein ma'arvin simcha. Simcha, we're not supposed to mix our smachos together, and therefore, if we have a wedding, it would divert people from the simcha of Chol hamoued, and that would be prohibited. The other reason that's brought by the poskim is mishum bittul priorivia, because one has to take several days off to get ready for the wedding and to celebrate the wedding and so on. And a person doesn't want to stop working in the middle of the year to do this, so therefore he might feel that he will set it off to Chol hamoued when he's not working anyway. And this would be the time when everyone's available to come to the wedding and so on. However, because we're afraid people will delay having children because of this, therefore we do not allow a wedding in Chol hamoued, so he's going to have to do it at another time, so he won't delay the wedding. In terms of the Irusin that we said that you're allowed to do without a seudah, this is greatly discussed in many different aspects. First of all, one has to understand that until the Crusades, as I said, Irusin and Neshooin were separated. It is commonly said that Rashi instituted kriyas ksuva between the Irusin and Neshooin, so we can say the bracha on both cups of wine. However, this is completely false. If you look in Shuvas Rashi, he is asked whether it is mutar to do the Irusin and Neshooin at the same time, And he objects to this, and he says the only reason why people want to do this is because they don't want to spend money on two seudos, and they're being cheap, and one should keep the irusin and nesuyim separated from each other. Rabbeinu Tam already was asked this question for a different reason, and he said because of the Crusades, people are expelled from their homes, and they wander to other places, and it may be that the bride's family and the groom's family in a year won't know where the other one is to be able to complete the neshuying, and then the woman will be in a guna because she is in fact married. She needs a get or the death of her husband to remarry, and we don't know where he is, and so we could have a great problem. So Rabbeinu Tam, not wanting to overturn Rashi's objection to not having two sudas, said that you can do Irusin in the morning with a sudas Irusin and then go through your day, and then in the afternoon you can do the nesuying with a sudas nesuying. So the idea of having the suda is very important, the appropriate celebration for the Irusin. But because it's HaMoed and there is a concept that runs through Seder Nashim in the Gemara, Shema Yaktiminu Acher, maybe someone else will come and engage her first. Therefore, you're allowed to do the engagement, but you have to delay the celebration of that engagement. However, how much do you have to delay the celebration of the engagement? The Rivash says in the Tshuva, and this is widely quoted afterwards, that dancing and singing, even having a band, that is not the type of simcha that will damage the simcha of Yontif. So you can celebrate the Irusin as long as you don't have a meal. You could have snacks, you could have a band, you can dance and so on, but you can't wash and have a full-blown meal. The snacks would have to be snacks, not a full meal without bread. It would have to be not a full meal, drinking El Chaim, and so on. As we say in modern Hebrew, a kibud kal, a light refreshments. And such a thing, the Rivash would say, it was mutter, and it would not be a problem of ein ma'arvin simcha b'simcha, of not mixing smachos together. He says there's also a difference within the Rusa. Both of them go home at the end. With marriage, the Gemara says, "V'samachta bi chagacha v'lo be'ishtacha," that the simcha of Yom Tov and HaMoed is supposed to be your spouse in the Chag and not your wife. And if you're newly married, of course, you would also be rejoicing with your wife. The Rabbeinu Yitzchak Geus and Rabbeinu Haigon say that to have a little suda in the father-in-law's house, that would also be mutter as long as it's not a large thing. All right. Therefore, going on, we said that Erev Yontif would be mutter, and the reason for this is because Erev Yontif, all the preparations would have to be done in the several days before, and therefore you would still have to take off most of the time from work anyway, and we're not concerned that you would delay it just to be Erev Yontif, so that the time of rejoicing at the marriage would not be the time you'd have to take off work that you'd take off anyway. And we say that the sudas of Sheva Brachas can be as they normally would, both on Yom Tov and on HaMoed, and that's not an issue of ma'arvin simcha b'simcha. And there is a discussion about whether we require panim chadashas. Panim chadashas are when you're having Sheva Brachas, you have to have someone at the Sheva Brachas that has not heard Sheva Brachas for this couple before. And the Shabbos is considered panim chadashas. You don't need people that didn't hear brachas for this couple before at the Shabbos meal. So the question is, do you need it on Chol HaMoed or on Yom Tov itself? And we say that one, at least on Yom Tov serves also as panim chadashas. Chol HaMoed may not. There is another discussion that comes up on this Siman, on the poskim on the Siman, Beis Yosef, and so on. It's in the Shulchan Aruch on the Siman. And that is, can we make a Seudah for a bris milah on HaMoed? Meaning, we have to do the bris at this time, but that doesn't mean we have to have a Seudah for this mitzvah. It might be that because of the nature of HaMoed, we're not allowed to have a Seudah to accompany the bris. However, because it is a mitzvah bismano, and Tosfos says there isn't simcha at a bris milah. The Gemara says that at a Seudah of simcha, we have in the introduction in the Zimun to Birkas Hamazon, she'as simcha b'mono, that there is rejoicing in his dwelling place. However, we say this for Seudas Irusin and Seudas Nesuyim. However, we do not say this at a bris milah because tzara de yenuka, because the baby is in pain. Therefore, there isn't true simcha at this Seudah. And because Tosfos says there is not true simcha at this Seudah, therefore we can have it on Chol HaMoed without a problem. The Orzera brings in the name of Tosfos a question about having a Seudah for a pidyon haben. Now, pidyon haben is different than the bris milah. Bris milah is supposed to be b'yom hashmini. It has to be on the 8th day. However, pidyon haben is from the 30th day on, meaning it doesn't have to be done at 30th. Normally, we like doing it at a mitzvah as soon as we can. We're not supposed to delay doing a mitzvah. But there is no chiyuv to redeem the child on the 30th day. I can wait until the 37th day, until after Yom Tov is over, and I can redeem the child then, and that would be just fine. It's not a mitzvah b'zman. It's not a mitzvah that actually has to be done exactly now. And therefore, Tosfos is initially mesupak about this. However, he says, and the Orzera in the end says, that because we don't she'as simcha b'mono, that the pidyon haben is even less simcha than a bris milah, therefore it would be allowed to have the Seudah for the pidyon haben. The issue of makeup on Chol HaMoed, and obviously in Yom Tov, in Shabbos, a woman can't put on makeup, but on Chol HaMoed she can. However, they had many treatments in the Gemara that are talk about things that women would do to improve their complexion, and they would put this plaster mixed with other things on their faces for a period of time, and then they would take it off. And at first it wouldn't look as nice, and then later their face would look much better. So in terms of those types of treatments, they say only if you will be able to take it in time and enjoy and have the face looking better because of the treatment, not only in its bad state, but at least by the last days of Yom Tov, it would have to be that it would be better already. That would have been the recovery time would have been over. Can you do such a thing? So something that is going to temporarily damage, you must get to the point of the benefit on Yom Tov, preferably on Chol HaMoed, but if not, then even if it would only be the benefit on Yom Tov, by Yom Tov, I should say, then it would be permitted. These type of treatments would be permitted. And with that, we end our discussion on Seudas, mitzvah, marriage, bris milah, etc. on Chol HaMoed, and everyone should have a wonderful day.